we all survive without mobile phones. You know, I used to break down, run out of petrol when I was 17, 18 years old. What could I do? I had to walk a long way to find a payphone so I could ring my dad and tell him I'd run out of petrol again. You know, if I was running late for something, I was running late. I couldn't ring ahead. I couldn't send a message to say, sorry, I'm late. If I was meeting my friends at a certain location on a Saturday night, if I was running late, I would have to go from venue to venue until I caught up with them. I think we forget that we did survive without phones. I still don't see any reason why a mobile phone needs to be inside a school. I genuinely don't, because you have a teacher with you, and if there are any emergencies, the teacher can call the parents. So I don't understand what the need is for a child to have a mobile phone on them during class.
Lorna Bancroft, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael.
You've had many careers, I think, already in the time that you've been here. So how would you want me to introduce you, or how do you like to introduce yourself?
I struggle with that, you know, because for so many years, I've been a radio presenter. Predominantly, my life has been a radio presenter. But now I'm a businesswoman. So just call me Lorna. That's probably the easiest.
Lorna, it is.
Yeah, just Lorna.
So what we're here talking about is you've created this business called Gen X DXB.
Yeah.
Tell us what it's about.
So Gen X is a venue where it's a kids-only event. So it's 9 to 14-year-olds, no parents are allowed. And it's essentially, I don't really like to use the word brunch for tweens and teens, but that's what it is. It's unlimited food, unlimited soft drinks, and we have a whole host of activities to keep the kids entertained. So karaoke booth, dance off, live DJ. They go behind the juice bar. They can make their own juices and mocktails. We have got pool tables, foosball tables, selfie booth. We play party games and challenges like team building games and challenges. The winners get prizes. It's a whole lot of fun for 3 hours, and the parents can go and chill out.
So as a journalist, I would say that you've buried the lead, though, because what's special about what it is that your business offers is it's a screen-free zone.
That's correct, yeah. We don't ban phones. We definitely don't ban mobile phones. Because I feel like the more that you tell kids they can't have something, the more they want it. So they are welcome to bring in their phones, and we have no issue with them filming themselves doing dances or having fun with their friends, just like I would on a day or a night out. But what we do is if we see a child sitting just on their phone, we'll go over and say, hey, do you want a game of Uno? Or do you fancy, let's go and have a go at Jenga? Do you want a game of pool? Just to try and distract them away from the screen, because I feel like if you say, hey, get off your phone, they're just going to want it even more.
I was Zooming with my daughter just the other day. She's 28, back in Toronto, and she used the expression, which of course I've heard before, but doom scrolling. And I think that we all run into that. And I think the fear that parents have, and it's not just me, it's some of the guys I play hockey with who are 10 or 15 or 20 years younger than I am. They talk about, you know, the amount of time that their kids are on screens, especially their phone.
Yeah.
You had mentioned your father before, talking about that. And I wonder, that generation would have looked back on kids today and they would think what?
I think they would think they were crazy. I think that we are very lucky because I grew up without screens. I didn't get my first mobile phone till I was 19. I didn't send my first email till I was 23. And so I had the childhood without it, but now that I'm an adult, I can take or leave it. So even though I have my mobile phone, I'm definitely not a doom scroller. I will look, obviously, on social media, on Instagram and stuff like that to catch up with what my friends are doing in other countries. I'm very good at making sure that I don't doom scroll, but I think that's because I grew up in an area in a way that it wasn't necessary. You know, I am very lucky that my childhood was, if you're bored, you have to entertain yourself. I could make a game out of anything. I had a sister, but she just read all the time. So I would play on my own. I would make up games from anything at all. I had an incredible imagination. And I think that's what's sad nowadays. Kids don't have the opportunity to have an imagination. And the problem is, because of the screens, there is always going to be a time when whatever they're looking at the screen comes to an end. And it's kind of like that, well, now what? Well, now what? If the movie finishes, well, now what? If the program finishes, now what? The game's finished, now what? They shouldn't have to live like that. They shouldn't be in a world where that is what is the norm.
Yeah, the studies that I've seen, they talk about the dopamine hit that you get.
Yeah.
And it's not from what you're watching. The dopamine hit comes from what's next.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of the reasons why Instagram is so addictive.
Yeah.
And it truly is. I did not grow up with any of that. I moved out here in 2002 and 2003, excuse me, and I didn't have a mobile phone until I moved out here. Mm-hmm. So I had my teens, my 20s, and almost all of my 30s without one.
Yeah.
And yet, I will, unfortunately, end up doom scrolling sometimes. So it's interesting, you're not a parent, and yet you have great insight into what it is that I guess the market needed, because your business is going incredibly well. But walk me through what was the inspiration, or that maybe that moment when you realized, I think there might be an opportunity to create venues, but also to try to get kids away from their phone. Even though they're not banned, you try and entertain them so much so that they're not thinking about their phone all the time, I guess.
So when I moved out here, obviously I did a lot of family days, family brunches, etc., with my very close friends that do have children that are teens and tweens. And what I discovered was that the younger ones were taken care of. There was the bouncy castles, the face painting, the clowns. But for the 9 to 14-year-olds, they were sitting on the table with us. Now, I was always taught by my parents, adult conversation is not for you. You and your sister go to the playroom. So, number one, that caught my attention, that they are part of adult conversation that a lot of the time I didn't think was necessary for their young ears. Also, number two, they're sitting at the table scrolling. Another thing I've always been told by my parents, get off your phone. You do not look at your phone while we're having dinner. So these inbuilt things are just triggering me to look at the other children. And the third thing is that my friends were having to leave early because their children were bored, understandably so, because there's nothing for them at the event. You know, there's nothing to keep them entertained. So I just thought there has to be a gap here. There has to be a way of keeping the teens and tweens entertained, but also giving them that sense of independence, but in a fun and safe environment, and also allowing mum and dad to relax. And the beauty about the venue that I found, because it was in my head for 18 months before I even found the venue, UBK is downstairs. So parents, you know, if dad wants to bring his kids to Gen X while it's on, he can watch football downstairs in UBK. And goodness forbid if anything happens, he's a staircase away. And that's what's really good, because there's a lot of parents that are still quite naturally very nervous about leaving their kids for the first time. So the fact that they are right downstairs, and if needs be, they can be with their child again within 10 seconds, this was like the dream for me.
We were speaking before, and you said that there was recently an experience that you had where some of the children were not prepared for perhaps not being on their phones when they were at Gen X DXB. Tell me what it was that the reaction you had from the kids.
So we do graduations through May and June. We're really popular for the schools to come and have their graduations with us. And there was one school that came, and I don't think the kids had been warned that they weren't allowed to take their phones inside the venue. It was the school's rule. It wasn't ours. Like I said, I have no problem. But at the door, the kids had their phones taken off them. My goodness me, it was heartbreaking to see their reaction. It was as if they were being tortured, and I'm not exaggerating. The thought of them going inside to a venue that was full of fun, it was their time, it's their graduation with their friends, and they've got all these incredible activities. The fact they didn't have their phone, it was, I can't even explain it. It was ripping my heart out to see how attached and how addicted these children are to their phones.
And I think I've been in airports and airports are maybe not a good example, because I think that you can be catching parents at their worst moments because they're tired and maybe they've got a child who's sick or incredibly uncomfortable, screaming, disturbing other people, and of course the parents can sense that. But I've seen children who truly are not old enough to walk on their own, but they know how to scroll on their phone. And I wonder what will, I don't want to sound like the old man yelling, "Get off my lawn," but I do wonder what it will be like for those children in 10 or 15 years.
I mean, my cousin works in IT. He's the head of IT department for his school. And when their little girl was born, by the time she was 4, 5 maybe, she could use my phone better than I could. And I spoke to both my cousins. I said, you know, this is terrible. He said, Lorna, if we keep her away from the phone and the iPad, we are stopping her from moving forward in the world the way it is now. So where do you draw the line? It's, you have to allow your children to be fully up on technology, but I don't know as a parent how you say enough is enough. Another example, so my friend lives here. She's separated from her child's father. She has a screen of how much he uses his phone. When he's with her, he's allowed to come home from school. He's allowed 1 hour of screen time. So that's 5 hours a week. When he goes to his dad on a Friday, it's 12 hours, 12 hours. What do you do?
I interviewed somebody recently, and his approach is for every hour that you want on your phone, you have to do an hour of outdoor activity or go to the gym.
Love that.
And I think that will keep your children equally engaged, because that's the risk that I think society faces as you're trying to create future citizens who are friendly and mobile and polite and adaptable. You want them to be able to be thrown into a situation where they can adapt no matter what that situation is.
Yeah.
And I do worry about, I think my children are old enough that they didn't really get that real hardcore addiction. Yes. Yeah. But I do see so many children now, and they have those iPads that are designed specifically for children, the way that they can be held. And I think that there is this, society's going down a dangerous road when it comes to screens. And I know that here in the UAE, there have been some schools that have they've started to ban mobile phones, or at least smartphones, from school campuses. So at the beginning of the day, you lock them up, and then at the end of the day, you get it. And maybe there's a flip phone in case of an emergency. But I remember first moving out here, that's all I had. I had a Samsung flip phone.
But what I would say is, we all survive without mobile phones. You know, I used to break down, run out of petrol when I was 17, 18 years old. What could I do? I had to walk a long way to find a payphone so I could ring my dad and tell him I'd run out of petrol again. You know, if I was running late for something, I was running late. I couldn't ring ahead. I couldn't send a message to say, sorry, I'm late. If I was meeting my friends at a certain location on a Saturday night, if I was running late, I would have to go from venue to venue until I caught up with them. I think we forget that we did survive without phones. I still don't see any reason why a mobile phone needs to be inside a school. I genuinely don't, because you have a teacher with you, and if there are any emergencies, the teacher can call the parents. So I don't understand what the need is for a child to have a mobile phone on them during class.
Right. I understand that point, and I agree with you. And I do think that we're both almost sounding like
dinosaurs.
Yes. Thank you for putting it in very polite language. I do struggle, though, when I look at parents who are trying to figure out the best way forward.
Yeah.
But your business seems to have done that. So when children walk into the venue, what is it that they're told as you try to get them engaged with what opportunities they have in front of them?
So as soon as they walk in, they're met by a member of my entertainment staff who will walk around each party. So for a normal Gen X brunch, it's normally 7 to 8 birthday parties. So each member of the team will take a different party and show them around the venue, make sure they know where the emergency exits are, make sure they know where the bathrooms are, and then explain each activity. The kids are told you don't have to do the activities, this is just what's available to you. So for example, if there's a birthday party that's all boys and they don't want to do the karaoke booth, not a problem. So they get fully shown around the venue. It's all open plan anyway. And they are either allowed to interact with the other children, or they can choose to stay within their own group. So obviously there's a lot of kids, if they're going to go in the karaoke booth, they don't want to be singing in front of strangers. So we keep them in their own groups, but when we're doing the party games or pool or foosball or whatever it is, we encourage them to interact with each other. Because when we did the survey, a lot of the quite concerning figures that we got back were that a high number of parents were really concerned that the screen time was having an effect on their child's ability to socialize, their child's confidence, their social interactions. And so when the kids are at Gen X, we encourage them to do everything in the old style way. And what I absolutely love, is when the parents then, after Gen X, will send me a video and the kids have gone home and they're doing the plank challenge with their brother and sister, or they've got some plastic cups and they're doing the tower stack challenge with their mum and dad. And I think that also reinforces to the parents, you don't need to spend a lot of money to entertain the children. And also it actually doesn't take a great deal of your time, because once you show them the way forward, the kids can keep themselves entertained at home. And I know the pressure on parents is way more than it used to be. You know, work-life balance is crazy now, especially here in Dubai. You know, a lot of parents don't have the time to switch off that my parents did. But it's finding those really simple ways of reconnect with yourself as a child, bring your imagination back and give that to your child. Because that's all I'm doing with Gen X. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm literally doing games with the kids that I did as a child.
It's almost like a time machine.
Exactly.
So
it's so simple.
You spoke about a survey. So tell me a little bit about the survey that you had conducted.
Okay, so we put out a survey to the parents and the schools asking for feedback on, it all stemmed from the Netflix series. Now I can't remember the name of it. The one beginning with A.
Adolescence?
Adolescence, thank you, my goodness. So I watched Adolescence. Off the back of that, it made me feel sick, genuinely made me feel sick. And so I spoke to my PR team and I said, we need to get a survey out here in the UAE and see if they are facing similar problems to the rest of the world. Because I don't know if you're the same, but living here in Dubai, I feel like we're just in a bubble. And, you know, nothing's the same here than the rest of the world. Everything's perfect. And honestly, when the findings came back in, it was really disturbing. Like I said, nearly 80% of parents said, you know, it causes their child to feel loneliness. They don't feel confident. They feel threatened by social media. They're seeing things on their screen that they should not be seeing. Also that there was nowhere, or that they didn't feel there was enough places in the UAE that gave them the option of their kids going somewhere that they would feel safe leaving them. So by creating a fun and safe environment where the kids also feel independent, the parents came back to us and said, we feel there is a massive, huge gap in the UAE for this age bracket of 9 to 14.
So, but your business had been running before.
Yeah, I mean, it's been going nearly 3 years now, and I only did the survey off the back of adolescence.
So what is it that you learned, like how did you adjust your business so that it would be more accommodating for some of the concerns that parents might have?
So now we have made the party games more team building. So as opposed to just the fun party games that we were doing before, we've now incorporated more team building. Obviously now as well, the team are a lot more visual on the children that are just on their screens, about showing them different alternatives. I don't think I was as hard on that as when I first started. But certainly since the survey results have come back, I did have a team meeting and I was like, we have to try and encourage the kids to not be on their phone. Also, we do have arcade games at Gen X. So we now make sure that gets rotated a lot more. Because what I didn't notice, there would be a couple of kids that would come in and they'd spend their whole time on Mortal Kombat, which I don't have an issue with. You know, so long as the kids are enjoying themselves, that's fine. But now that we've had the feedback with regard to screen time, an arcade game is still screen time. We want the kids to be doing other stuff.
So is there an activity, I'm curious, that some of the kids will participate in, and that will be like the tipping point. They will realize that was maybe more fun than I thought it was going to be, and then you don't have to not pick on them, but you don't have to point out to them, maybe get off your phone.
So the limbo challenge,
really?
Which I did not think was going to be a winner for the boys. They love it. They see it as a real challenge against the girls. And we do that as an entire group. So whoever is in Gen X, we say we're going to do a giant limbo challenge. They absolutely love it. And also the dance off. I just assume that the boys, again, boys aren't really that into dancing. You normally get one or two. But the more now that we hype the dance off, and we make sure that we'll say to the guys, you can do your break dancing. We don't just mean cheesy dance moves. Like your break dancing. I saw you over there with your mates before. Come up to the front. The best girl and the best boy are going to win a prize. Those two I didn't think were going to be the most popular activities, but they definitely are. And the mocktail making, because they can go home and show off to mum and dad. I'm going to make you a Shirley Temple. And when the parents come to collect them, they normally have the mocktails ready. Look what I made you. And
I'm going to sound like an old man, but I do think that the dancing part of it might be because nowadays I don't think that there's the same connotation that dancing is for women as, not to put you in the same age bracket as me, but when we were younger, it was, I think, more perceived that dancing was more of something that women did.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you can see so many successful entertainers,
absolutely,
men and women who are out there dancing.
But it isn't until we started phrasing it differently over the last 6 to 8 months that more boys have been joining in. Before, I'd say for the last 2 years, it was predominantly the girls on the dance floor, but we've changed the language that we use with the children.
Which is now?
Which is more, like I was saying before, about, break dancing, I just saw your break dancing moves, more making it cooler, instead of it being, okay, we've got the dance challenge and playing. And also, what I love? The kids love our music. YMCA, they go nuts for YMCA. We never even thought of that before.
So, first of all, I want to say a couple of things. One, I don't know that breakdancing is something that you can say today and people will understand.
Oh, they do.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
they
I stand
do.
corrected.
Yep.
The other thing is, one of my YouTube guilty pleasures is watching men or women, probably younger than 30, for the first time listening to music that I grew up with. Mm-hmm. And I'm amazed that they're amazed that there was good music in the 60s or 70s. And that, to me, it gives me a chance to sort of remember my love for music.
Yeah.
And I think I could survive with, I'm going to say 12 bands, but I would be able to listen to their entire catalog.
Yeah.
For you, your go-to music would be what?
80s. I love the 80s. And luckily for me, the kids are loving the 80s as well.
But
it's
YMCA
great.
is the 70s.
YMCA is the 70s, but they do ask for a lot of 80s.
Such as?
Such as Toto, Africa. That seems to be a favourite. Rick Astley, I believe that was 90s.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so they absolutely love Never Gonna Give You Up. Also, a lot of the sort of dancey music, Freed From Desire. That is super popular this year. It wasn't last year, but this year it's crazy popular.
There are certain things, this is sounding like it should be an oldies podcast now, but there are certain things. So I was born in 66, my kids were born in 96.
Yeah.
And there are certain, I think, moments from the 80s, songs or movies or TV shows that seem to resonate with generations.
Yeah.
The big one, I think, is The Breakfast Club. That movie...
I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
Really?
No,
Maybe it's
I don't think
more
I
of a
have.
North American thing. But The Breakfast Club seemed to do a fantastic job of defining a generation. Mm-hmm. And I think it's not just the generation, but I think it's also a time, when you're in grade 11, 12, 13, there was grade 13 when I was going, when you're, 17 years old and you're trying to figure out your place in the world, and your ecosystem is your school.
Yeah.
And the Breakfast Club is, 4 or 5 different students who are in detention on a weekend.
Okay.
And they're there for a few hours, and they get to understand each other's point of view. Anyhow, my kids love that movie because I think it does such a nice job. And I think unlike more recent generation or decades, I don't know that there is that same art that's been created that represents a moment in a person's life as well. When I look at movies from the 50s and 60s, I don't know that I can look back and go, oh, that resonates with me.
Yeah.
But I know that The Breakfast Club is a great example, at least for me and for people who are much younger than I am. So I wanted to also ask, because of the success of Gen X DXB, you're now going to be opening something in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, we have to expand. So it is still TBC. But Abu Dhabi, we're going to be having Gen X at a venue there. And also Ras Al Khaimah, I know, is desperate for Gen X. Again, it's trying to find the perfect venue because obviously the brand is so strong now. I don't want to offer any less than what we already offer. So yeah, I mean, we even need another venue in Dubai, really, because we've had to turn away a lot of schools and a lot of parents who wanted to celebrate their birthdays in June, because we have graduations every single day.
Is part of the challenge that you're facing when you're finding a venue that you also want to be close to entertainment options for the parents?
Yeah, because I know the parents want to be close. And I would be, if I was a parent and I was sending my child somewhere alone for the first time, I would want to be close by too. So it's very important that we're not just speaking and looking for kids to have the same options that they already have at the UBK Fun Zone, but there needs to be that peace of mind for the parents as well.
Do you ever have parents who, I think also like kids, I think parents struggle with doom scrolling and being on their phone too much? I know my wife and I will talk and we'll go, that was a pretty much wasted 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you have parents saying, I need you to create an adult only venue like this?
Yes, I have had that and I have said no.
Why?
Because I don't want to deal with drunk adults.
But
I've seen what a pain in the backside my friends can be. I don't drink personally. So yeah, we were toying with the idea of the Gen Extreme, it was going to be called.
But why couldn't you do it? I'm going to interrupt you. Why couldn't you do it without the alcohol?
I mean,
because then you really force people outside their comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
You get them socializing.
Yeah.
They don't have the crutch of the alcohol. They don't have that. I do the Irish exit so often, and I use my phone as a fake call to leave.
Yeah.
You don't have that opportunity. And you would be in a position where I think you would have so many adults in the palm of your hand where they would do just about anything because they would have nothing else to do.
I mean, to be honest, the games that we use at Gen X, I use a lot of those games when I host my quiz nights.
Right.
And the adults love them. And it always makes me laugh because I never ever have any adult when I do the quiz nights going, I'm not doing that game. They literally jump right in. I don't know, I've not thought about doing it without the alcohol. That's not a bad idea, actually.
And I also think that when you do quiz night, yeah, people are maybe eating and maybe they have a drink or two, but I don't think they're at that point where they're gone for the evening, right?
Yeah.
I could see that as, because also from a sociological point of view, the parents would then start to be a different role model for the kids, because I think one reason why kids are on their phones so much is because their parents are on their phones. And I'm as guilty as anybody.
Yeah.
And I think that if you can start to change habits, which brings me to
take the phones off the parents before they come in. That would be
absolutely,
hilarious,
right? The parents have to leave their phones just like the children have to leave their phones.
I'm going to look into this, Marguda. I'll tell you something that we are starting though in September is the same space, but for 15 to 18-year-olds. Now this is going to be very telling. So it's going to be called The Base, because I thought I don't want it to have anything to do with Gen X, because the teenagers will go, that's for kids. So we're calling it The Base. It's going to be on a Saturday night, 7 till 10, so it's going to be late. Obviously, no alcohol, and we're not going to do the whole team building games and stuff like that, because 15 to 18-year-olds are far too cool. It's literally just going to be a hangout. DJ, use of the pool tables, the foosball tables, the air hockey machine, the bar will be open for them to make their own drinks or have the drinks served, the food. And so, yeah, that is one thing that is starting at the end of September, which I'm very interested to see how this goes.
Now, you talked about the dancing. This will be my last question. I want to know, do you notice, as someone who I assume you get to observe a lot of these kids,
Yeah.
any big differences between the boys and the girls?
With their behavior or?
With their, what it is that, okay, so I'll back up. So there are lots of sociologists nowadays who will talk about society is not creating a next generation of men, boys, who are easily adaptable and who are comfortable in social environments.
Yeah.
So when you see the 9 to the 14-year-olds,
Yeah.
boys and girls,
Yeah.
and they're not without their phone, do you see girls are more well-armed to take on whatever the challenge is for the next few hours? And do you see boys in a different category compared to the girls?
I know what you're saying. So the boys definitely need a lot more direction. So they need a lot more sort of steering. The girls seem to have a lot more confidence, especially when they've got their friends around them. It's almost like, right, okay, we're good to go now. Whereas the boys are still a little bit like, okay, I just want to, what's this? What does that do? What can we do? What can't we do? The boys are also a lot more mischievous. I think that's not a word, but I use it all the time. The boys are always the cheeky ones. It's very, very rare that we get a girl that we need to speak to. It's more common that we would have to pull one of the boys to the side and go, dude, you're here to enjoy yourself. Do you want me to have to ring your mum? No. Okay, well, should we not speak again? Should we just enjoy ourselves? Yeah, cool. And that's normally all it takes. It's very, very rare that I ever have to phone a parent to ask them to come and collect. But the boys, I would definitely say, lack the confidence and the social skills that the girls have. You will also see girls from different parties that will engage with each other more. We have to work a lot harder for the boys to engage with each other if they're not already friends, which I actually thought would be the other way around, because I always thought girls would be more cliquey than the boys. But I think it genuinely just comes down to a confidence thing.
Wonderful. Lorna, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.